All right, I want everyone listening to do something for me. Close your eyes for a second. Well, actually, unless you're driving or operating heavy machinery.
Oh, yeah. Please don't do that.
If you're driving, please, for the love of everything holy, keep them open. But for the rest of you, picture this.
Okay, I'm picturing a beach. Is it a beach?
I wish. No, picture this. You are deep in the trenches of a massive project. And I mean deep. You've got the coffee cup graveyard on your desk. You haven't seen the sun in like 3 days.
The glamour of professional life.
Exactly. But it's worth it, right? Because the strategy you've built is absolutely bulletproof. You spent weeks refining it. The creative work is clean. It's sharp. It's based on years of hard-won experience and, actual data. You are feeling good. You are ready to launch. And then the email notification pings.
The dreaded subject line. Thoughts on the latest draft.
And it's not just a looks good approved. It never is.
Never.
It's the specific kind of feedback that makes you want to slowly close your laptop and just stare into the void. We're talking about a client who suddenly wants the headline rewritten to include a cheesy pun.
Oh, no. Because their nephew thought it would be funny.
Yes. Or they think the call to action, the literal button that is designed to make them money, is too salesy.
I've heard that one.
Or, and this is the classic, this is the one that sends me over the edge every single time, they want to take the carefully allocated budget and split it across 14 different campaigns simply because that's how we've always done it.
It is a painfully familiar scenario for anyone in professional services.
Yeah.
Is that moment where you just hit the wall, the work is good, the logic is sound, but the reception is chilly.
Chilly is putting it mildly. It's freezing. And you're standing at this crossroads, right? You have this dilemma. Do you speak up, push back, and risk offending the person who literally signs your paycheck? Or do you just stay quiet, implement the bad idea, and watch your beautiful strategy crash and burn?
It feels like a lose-lose. If you speak up, you're difficult. If you stay quiet,
you're ineffective. Exactly.
Right.
So what do we do? Because I feel like most of us just choose stay quiet and resent it.
Which is just a recipe for burnout. But the source material we're looking at today, this really insightful article from Stella Pop about navigating client pushback, suggests we might be framing the whole problem wrong.
How so?
We tend to see this dynamic as a battle.
It feels like a battle. It feels like us versus them, my expertise versus your random gut feeling.
Right. But the mission of this deep dive is to explore a different approach. We're going to unpack how to shift the goal from winning the argument to winning their trust.
Okay.
It sounds subtle, but it's about moving from a mindset of convince and convert, which is inherently combative, to one of, guidance and partnership.
Guidance and partnership. It sounds nice, very kumbaya. But I have to ask the cynical question here, playing devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Why do clients hire experts if they're just going to ignore them? That's the part that always baffles me. You're paying for the expertise. Why overwrite it with a whim?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And to answer it, we have to get into the psychology of resistance. Okay. The article makes a really fascinating diagnosis here. It says that when a client pushes back or ignores a recommendation, it's not necessarily because they think you are wrong.
Really? Because when they say, I don't like this, change it to Comic Sans, it sounds a lot like they think I'm wrong.
It feels that way, but often it's not about you at all. It's because they are scared.
Scared? Like, of the ad campaign? They think the billboard's going to bite them?
Well, think about the stakes on their side. We often forget this because we're focused on the work. They're focused on the consequences. They're scared of wasting money. They're scared of being wrong in front of their bosses or their investors. They are scared of trusting a process that, frankly, they just don't fully understand.
Okay, that puts a spin on it. So that no isn't an attack on my skill.
No. The source describes it as a protective reflex.
A protective reflex? That makes me think of a turtle pulling its head in.
That is exactly what it is. When humans feel threatened, even if the threat is just a new, unfamiliar marketing strategy, we tend to turtle up. We stick to what we know.
Right.
That's why you get the "we've always done it this way" comment. It's not because they love the old way. It's because the old way feels safe. It's predictable.
Wow. Okay, that actually helps. Because if I'm sitting there thinking the client is attacking my intelligence, I'm going to get defensive. I'm going to argue logic. But if I realize they're just having a panic response because they're worried about their quarterly review,
then it creates an opportunity for empathy rather than defensiveness. Your job isn't to beat them into submission with logic. It's to make them feel safe enough to take the leap.
But how do we actually do that? Because I can't just walk into a boardroom, hold their hand and say, I sense your fear, Brenda.
Yeah.
That's going to get me fired too.
Please do not do that. The source lays out some specific strategies, and the first one is all about language. It's called Strategy 1, speak their language, not yours. Or, as I like to call it, escaping the jargon trap.
Oh, I'm so guilty of this. I think we all are. We want to sound smart, right? We want to prove we know our stuff, so we throw out the acronyms. We need to leverage the SEO to optimize the KPI for the B2B vertical.
And you just lost them. We do that because we think complex language signals expertise. But the article is very clear. Jargon does not build trust. It builds walls.
Walls, yeah.
Acronyms, industry buzzwords, pointing to trends without context. These things actually create distance. You have to remember, stakeholders usually aren't sitting around reading case studies or obsessing over the latest A/B test reports like we are.
Right. They are trying to keep the lights on. They are trying to calm down their investors or justify why they need more budget for next year.
Spot on. So if you come in speaking a language they don't speak, you aren't proving your value. You are confusing them. And there's a golden rule in sales and persuasion. A confused mind says no.
A confused mind says no. That should be tattooed on every consultant's arm. Let's look at the example the source gives, because I think this really highlights the difference.
Yeah, it's a good one.
They have a wrong way and a right way to pitch a change. Do you want to do the honors?
Sure. So imagine I'm the agency expert and I'm trying to impress you. Here's the wrong way. We recommend a CRO-focused landing page variation supported by heat map analytics to optimize the funnel.
Okay, I fell asleep halfway through that sentence, and I actually know what CRO means. It just sounds technical, clinical. It sounds like homework.
It puts the burden of understanding on the client. They have to decode what you just said.
Right.
Now, here is the right way to say the exact same thing, but translated into the client's world. We've seen that a simpler page like this helps users take action faster. It'll likely mean more leads and fewer drop-offs.
Oh, I see the difference. The first one talks about the tool heat maps, variations. The second one talks about the result users taking action, more leads.
It is not dumbing it down.
Yeah.
I think a lot of experts fear that if they use simple language, they'll look like amateurs. But the source argues that this is actually translating value into direct action and ROI.
Yeah.
You are connecting the dots for them so they don't have to.
It's respecting their brain space. They have a million things to worry about. Decoding your acronyms shouldn't be one of them.
Right. If you're talking to a CFO, don't talk about brand sentiment. Talk about customer acquisition costs.
It's about money.
If you're talking to the CEO, talk about market position.
Okay, so we're speaking their language. We're being clear. But I've been in meetings where I was crystal clear and the client still looked at me with total suspicion, like I was trying to trick them.
Yeah.
The source brings up a hard truth here that I think we need to acknowledge.
Yes, the trust deficit.
Yeah.
The reality is many clients don't trust outside help because they have been burned before.
We have all heard the horror stories. The agency that promised the moon and delivered, well, nothing.
Or the consultant who vanished after the invoice was paid.
Right.
It creates a sort of PTSD in the corporate world.
Right.
So you are walking into a room where the default setting might be skepticism. You can't just pitch an idea and expect them to buy it on faith.
So what do we do?
Strategy number 2 is engineering safety. You have to build safety into the process itself.
So how do we physically, or I guess logistically, build safety? Because trust me isn't enough.
You show them the safety net. You show them how it works, how you'll measure it, and most importantly, what the fallback is if it doesn't go to plan.
The source lists some really actionable tactics here. One that stood out to me was low-risk pilot programs.
Yes.
Instead of betting the whole farm, let's just bet the tractor shed first.
That's a great analogy. Pilot programs allow the client to dip a toe in the water without the fear of catastrophic loss.
Right.
If you are proposing a massive rebrand, maybe start with just one product line. Prove it works there.
It lowers the blood pressure in the room. Another tactic they mention is using side-by-side creative comps.
Yes. Here is what you have now, and here's what we propose right next to each other. Visual evidence is powerful because it removes the imagination gap.
They don't have to guess what it will look like.
Exactly.
And also, breaking campaigns into milestones with review points. It tells the client, we aren't going to go into a dark cave for 6 months and emerge with something you might hate.
We're going to check in with you every step of the way.
It gives them a sense of control. And really, that's what fear is usually about, a loss of control.
And finally, sharing exactly how the team will test, learn, and adapt. Admitting that you will adapt implies that you are watching. It implies that if the first attempt isn't perfect, you aren't going to just shrug and walk away. You're going to fix it.
That is huge, because usually clients think that once they sign off, it's set in stone. If you tell them, hey, we're going to watch the data for 48 hours and tweak it, that feels much safer.
It does. When people feel safe, they stop resisting and start participating. It turns into a collaboration instead of a hostage negotiation.
Which leads us perfectly into the third strategy. So we've fixed our language, we've built a safety net, but now we're in the meeting, and they still want the bad idea.
Yep.
They still want the logo to take up half the page. This is where we need the art of the bridge question.
Bridge questions. This is my favorite part of the article because it's so practical.
It sounds like a negotiation tactic.
In a way, it is. But it is a negotiation for the sake of the project, not for your ego. The source emphasizes that the job isn't to win.
Oh, that's hard.
It is. The job is to get the best result for the brand, and sometimes to get that result, you have to put your pride aside.
That is the hardest part. When you know you are right and they are wrong, your brain just wants to scream, listen to me.
It is incredibly hard to suppress that. But instead of saying, no, that's a bad idea, you use questions to build a bridge between their concern and your solution.
Okay.
These questions are designed to disarm defensiveness.
Let's go through the specific questions the source suggests, because I think these are gold. The first one is, can you tell me what you're hoping to achieve with this change?
That is a brilliant question. Think about it. If a client says, make the logo bigger, and you ask why, that sounds confrontational. It sounds like you were challenging their authority.
It sounds like a teenager arguing with a parent, but why?
Exactly. But if you ask, what are you hoping to achieve with that? Wait, you are asking about the goal. You act like you are on their side. Maybe they say, I'm worried nobody will remember our name.
And once you know the goal is brand recall, you can solve that problem.
Right.
You can say, okay, if recall is the goal, making the logo bigger might clutter the design. But what if we made the tagline bolder instead? That hits the goal without breaking the design.
See what happened there? You move the conversation from the logo size to the strategy brand recall.
I like that.
Another great question is, what has or hasn't worked in the past?
That shows respect. It says, I know you have history here. Tell me about it.
It validates their experience. And the third one, which I love, would you be open to testing both approaches and comparing results?
The ultimate peacemaker. Let's let the market decide.
It completely removes the my opinion versus yours dynamic. Now we are just scientists running an experiment.
So why do these questions work so well?
Well, based on the text, it seems like it just shows the client you're listening. You aren't bulldozing them.
You're yielding to win.
You are yielding the battle to win the war. Bulldozing creates rubble. Listening creates a foundation. When you ask these questions, you open the door for your original insight to land because you've proven you aren't just trying to force your way through.
Okay, so we've spoken their language, built safety, asked bridge questions, but sometimes you just need cold, hard proof. That brings us to strategy 4, visual data and politics.
Yes, data as an ally. But, and this is a big but, it has to be the right kind of data presentation.
Right. The source warns against what I think we've all done. Handing over a massive Excel sheet or a report full of raw bounce rates and expecting the client to just get it.
Raw data is overwhelming. And remember our rule.
A confused mind says no.
Exactly. If I drop a spreadsheet on your desk, your brain goes into homework mode. You check out.
So instead of saying our click-through rate is 2.4%, which means nothing to most people.
Nothing.
The source suggests phrasing it for impact, like, last time we used this headline structure, conversions increased by 37%.
That is a story. Conversions increased is a story with a happy ending. 2.4% is just a number.
Or, this creative format tends to outperform in your industry. That appeals to their competitive side.
Yes, it leverages FOMO, fear of missing out.
Oh, the competitors are doing it. We need to do it too. And this platform targets your exact buyer profile. Let's test it for 30 days. Specificity and a time-bound test. It's irresistible.
But you mentioned politics earlier. This is where the deep dive gets really nuanced. Because sometimes you can have the perfect data, the perfect bridge questions, and the perfect safety net.
Yeah.
And they still push back.
Yeah, this part of the source really struck me. It says, sometimes pushback isn't about the idea at all.
We often forget this. We think it's about the font or the strategy or the budget, but often it's about internal politics.
Right.
It's about pride, or it's about pressure from higher-ups that we can't even see.
Maybe the client is pushing back because their boss yelled at them yesterday about spending too much money.
Could be.
Or maybe they promised their team they'd have input on the creative, so they have to change something just to show they were involved.
The Hippo effect?
Yeah.
The highest paid person's opinion. Sometimes your client agrees with you, but they know their boss won't. In those moments, your role shifts.
How so?
You stop being a strategist and you start being a diplomat.
A diplomat. I like that. What does a diplomat do in this situation?
A diplomat knows which battles to fight. The source advises knowing when to let a small point go. If they want to change a word in the subheadline and it doesn't destroy the strategy,
Let it go.
let them have it. Give them a win.
Let them put their thumbprint on the project.
Yes. And, this is the tricky one, know when to frame your suggestion so the client feels like it was their idea.
The old inception technique, planting the seed.
It requires swallowing your pride. You don't get the credit. You might have to say, building on that great point you made earlier about audience retention, what if we did X?
Even if they never made a point about audience retention.
Sometimes, yes. You anchor your good idea to something they said, because if they feel like they own the idea, they will fight for it internally. They become your champion.
That's savvy. And let's be honest, as the source says, some clients simply need that. They need to feel ownership.
You hit the nail on the head. The source puts it beautifully. Success isn't always about making the right decision. It's about making the decision right.
That is a quote to put on the wall. Making the decision right. It's about execution and alignment. Even a mediocre strategy executed with full alignment usually beats a perfect strategy that the client hates and sabotages.
100%.
Now, before we wrap up, we have to talk about my favorite metaphor from this entire article.
Uh-oh.
We've been very serious and diplomatic, but the source gets a little cheeky here. They talk about the ugly baby.
Yes, the ugly baby analogy. It's vivid.
The source says, look, we get it. Sometimes their baby, aka their idea, is ugly. We have all been there.
Mm-hmm.
The client comes to you with an idea. Maybe it's a logo they sketched on a napkin or a tagline they dreamed up in the shower, and it is just objectively bad.
It happens. It's awkward. But the crucial advice here is telling them their baby is ugly doesn't help anyone.
No, usually parents get pretty upset when you insult their kids. Your baby has weird ears is not a great way to start a relationship.
Correct. If you criticize their idea directly, you are attacking their judgment, you are attacking their baby.
Mm-hmm.
They will defend it with their lives.
Right. So what is the solution? Do we just lie and say, oh, what a cute blob?
No, because then you have to launch the blob. You have to help them see what beauty could look like. You don't focus on why their idea is bad. You focus on building a bridge to a better result.
Find common ground.
Yeah. So it's not your idea is bad. That's an interesting start. And if we combine the energy of that sketch with this design best practice, we can get to this amazing outcome. It is about collaboration on a win. You are co-parenting the project, essentially. You are guiding the baby towards success rather than just criticizing it.
Co-parenting the project. That is a great way to put it. Although, hopefully the project doesn't keep you up at 3 a.m. crying.
No promises there.
Yeah.
But when your expertise meets their trust, that is when the best work happens. That's the core message here.
So let's recap this journey. We started with the frustration of pushback. The feeling that the client is just trying to ruin the work.
And we learned that pushback is usually feel. It's a protective reflex. To overcome it, we have to stop trying to win the argument and start building trust.
We do that by speaking their language results, not jargon. By engineering safety so they don't feel like they're jumping off a cliff.
We use bridge questions to disarm defensiveness and invite collaboration. What are you hoping to achieve instead of why would you do that?
We use visual, digestible data to tell a story that proves our case. And finally, we act as diplomats. We navigate the politics, we let them have the small wins, and we help them turn their, let's say, challenging ideas into something beautiful without making them feel small.
It really comes down to navigating those tough dynamics to turn pushback into progress. It's hard work. It requires patience. But the payoff is a client who listens to you because they trust you, not just because they hired you.
And that leads us to the final wisdom of the day. We mentioned the quote about making the decision right. But as we close out, what is the one big thought you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it comes back to the definition of expertise. We often think expertise is just knowing the answer, knowing the right font, the right strategy, the right code. But true expertise, the kind that leads to long-term success, is having the emotional intelligence to guide others to that answer without them feeling small.
That's powerful.
It's not just about being the smartest person in the room. It's about making everyone else in the room feel smart enough to agree with you.
Making everyone else in the room feel smart enough to agree with you. I love that. It's about checking the ego at the door to get the win for the project.
Exactly. If you can do that, you won't just launch better projects, you'll actually enjoy the process.
Well, there you have it, a masterclass in bridge building over bulldozing. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into building stronger, saner client relationships.
It's been a pleasure. Good luck out there.
We'll catch you on the next one.